あるかもしれない。
So, hello. I don't know how I usually start these things. Hello. So, if you're watching this, that means we just got done with part 1 of Phantom Blood in my Stone Mask Saga review, which is a video I'm making here in the near future. However, I need to rewatch and reread parts in order to make a pretty lengthy review of the 3 first parts in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So, this is the highlights and funny moments of the stuff I've been recording over on Patreon. However, there's a bit of a whoopsie. In the first 2 episodes, I forgot to split the audio channels, which makes it nearly impossible to, edit for YouTube in post because of the copyright system. So, in this highlights, we only watch episodes 3 through 9. However, to uncheck that for the person that wants to watch it in full chronological order, you can go over to Patreon and watch the 2 first episodes for free. But if you don't, you can just start hearing me yap here in a few seconds. So thank you if you watch all the way through, and thank you if you go over to Patreon and support there after this video, or if you start watching the Patreon stuff and never move back to this one. So with that all being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you at the very end. Thank you again. That lion. Hold on, I could switch. Wait a minute. I could switch. That lying bitch. You can totally tell he's giving an act right now, and I love it. I love Dio right now, especially during this entire fight scene that's gonna end up coming here in a little bit. But God, he's playing the oh no, man, that's so like you, Jonathan. That's so like you. My ass, man, my ass. What the fuck did he just say? What did I miss? Right, I'll go to bed now is insane. Your adopted son is trying to kill you. And this motherfucker goes, I'm going to bed. Eh? That's George is fucking insane. Absolutely insane. He says this, but then Speedwagon also says it. So, I guess the manga kind of doubles down on like Dio being devil adjacent. But in the anime, they don't really heavily emphasize that, but at least with this scene they do. So it's good that they add this. Also, love this visual pattern on him. Absolutely adore it. Telling you, man, part 1 had some goated ass visuals that they don't keep up in the later parts. Absolutely a shame. So looking back on this scene so many years later, I do have to say to a point that what Dio sets up here is some of the greatest scheming ever in anime or manga, bro. Absolutely incredible storytelling. The fact that what Araki tries to set up here is that Dio never wanted to be human, and in the opportunity to gain power, something trivial as humanity can be forsaken easily for him. Dio will do anything for power. I think this scene is beautifully executed, and I also think if you could have seen my face a little bit before, is that I did have a thought that maybe because Dio became a vampire, that to some extent in that process it allows him to think deeper on certain things. Of course, later on that would be gravity and fate. I would say, looking at some of that choice dialogue he says, hold on, let me right here. This is a good scene. Jojo, being human means having limits. I think this is slightly different dialogue than the manga, but I think here, at least for anime Dio, it kind of like sets up for what Dio will eventually become 100 years from now. It's kind of brilliant looking back on it, and it is definitely intended. We do know that Araki, like, he planned out parts 1, 2, and 3, so he does know that Dio will come back with a different mindset, later on, and I think this is the foundation of it. And the fact that this is like what, 3 or 4 chapters in, and then episode wise it's 3 episodes in, is actually insane. Really cool foreshadowing here. I really do have to admit I like it a lot. I do think that Dio is like the protagonist / secondary protagonist of part 1, just because of this dialogue. It's genuinely really crazy. That will always be the theme of JoJo's. It will always be the Joestars always doing the ultimate good. Even though George is in the right and he is a dick to, or I guess he's being a dad to Jonathan. It's always in the Joestar's nature, even if you don't have the JoJo moniker in your name, to always do the best or do the sake of good, always doing kindness to others. It's a very Joestar thing that I think gets overseen a lot of the time with the Joestars, but all of them do it. And eventually when we get to it, it won't be for a very long time. I think Jotaro has probably the best example of it, because in this example, right, George is in the right here. He should let Dario rot in jail for stealing off of dead bodies, or going to steal off of dead bodies, but he doesn't. Why? Because he's being kind. He knows Dario is less fortunate than him, and he wants to give it to him, basically, right? You then see that through Jonathan eventually later on, because he still feels bad for killing Dio. Joseph kind of also has that, similar to his grandfather in part 2. And then with Jotaro, we end up seeing in part 6, and I would say a little bit of part 3, knowing the build-up of his character there. Jotaro does the ultimate sacrifice and then removes himself because he knows his life is a threat to others. So the theme of being overly kind to a fault is there throughout all of JoJo, starting here, like without a shadow of a doubt. Guardian of the Joestar Hamon. I do want to kind of make a comment about this. So I do find it kind of weird that, I don't find it weird. I find it disappointing that the idea of the guardian angel doesn't show up again for the Joestars, unless, right, you utterly big brain this and then start getting like crazy like I do with JoJo theories and say like, I hit my mic, my bad. That the idea of like a Joestar conglomerate, like the idea of what the Joestars represent, is actually within the Guardian. So the Guardian is always with the Joestars. Like they're not, the Guardian isn't a stand, right? The stands aren't the Guardians, but like the Joestars themselves are like guided or protected by fate in order to solve like issues. So in a way, you could either view it like, you know, it's gravity or fate, like making the Joestars do all these things, but like, and maybe in like another way, at least maybe like in early JoJo's, maybe the early idea of what Araki was running with here is that the Guardian here, right, it is literally protecting them or literally guiding them throughout like all of parts 1 through 6, and then to a lesser extent, it's just like gravity and fate kind of dulling it down. But I wish this was talked about more. I wish maybe the idea of this is presented more throughout the series, but of course it's not. But you could get really like esoteric with it, and I think it's pretty cool. But it is something I want to see more of, but sadly we just don't. But I guess to a certain degree that it technically does happen, but you gotta twist the way you view it. I love episode 3. I think out of all the episodes in Phantom Blood, this is definitely up there. I think this is second to the last in terms of rating for me. I think it really establishes what this series is about and what it will be about and how it'll evolve. The vampire introduction is beautiful. The idea of the indomitable human spirit through Jonathan and eventually later on through the other Joestars will eventually show up is perfectly portrayed here and is well established, but eventually will be built on later on. Man, I love the third episode of Phantom Blood. You cannot beat it. Well, you can be beat. There are a few episodes that do it, but it is perfect. I think this episode encapsulates why people love JoJo so much. This is the first 2 episodes. You go, oh, it's kind of a family drama, and then this happens, and you're like, ooh, I want to be engrossed. I want to feel this. I want to see where Dio and Jonathan go and what happens. I think Araki truly nails it. Even in terms of the manga chapters, I think where this happens, I think it's like over the course of like 3 chapters or 2 or 3 chapters. This is where the audience is engaged and locks in. This is where I fell in love with JoJo, because it's like, where is this gonna go? Where are these powers gonna go? Where is this all gonna end up, right? It's like you are encapsulated by the aura of Dio and the struggle between Dio and Jonathan. It's just Araki did this all at 26, by the way. Like, he did it very late. Not late in life, but late into his 20s, man. He was absolutely cooking here, man. I wish one day, I really do hope by the time I'm 26, I could do something like this. But it's like, wow. Wow. So I'm just looking back on it. I'm feeling the nostalgia right now as I talk. And it holds up. Like, it really honestly does. I've reread these chapters for videos hundreds of times over. I've looked at these clips hundreds of times over, right, for videos and stuff, and placing them on my Premiere timeline. But it still holds up. Even though the animation quality is a little iffy here and there. I don't know why there's so much shine on one part of their face, and like their bodies, don't. But it still holds up, man. I'm so happy people can still come here and enjoy Phantom Blood and JoJo's in general, right? Because the story is so well portrayed by David Productions. You can tell that the team that did this absolutely loved it, and they're trying to portray the story just as well as Araki originally did back in the day. That basically saved him in his later 20s, because JoJo's is what blew him up, right? So it's absolutely amazing. It's absolutely incredible. It's still that people still find JoJo, still rewatch JoJo's because of Phantom Blood. I will always say, because of episode 3 and because of the manga chapters that make up this episode are the reason why the JoJo still continues to this day. It's amazing. Absolutely incredible. I can't like really put into words as of right now, but maybe when I find when I end up making the Stone Mask Saga video, and why I think it's a masterpiece. It's like this episode is a cornerstone of it, because this is what engages people. It traps you into the world of JoJo's, and you want more afterwards. And how it all still connects back to like modern JoJo with the ideas of family, a person's limits being a human, how you can go beyond that through vampirism or stands or Hamon, or just being just an extraordinary person, right? It's amazing. This episode encapsulates what JoJo's is. It's not stands, it's not Hamon, it's not vampires, it's that human spirit, the passion, the celebration of humanity, right? What Araki says so many times through so many different interviews. This is what this episode represents. Jonathan, even though he is inferior to Dio in every way, he still overcomes it. He still overcomes the odds of adjacent to the devil evil, or straight up the devil incarnate, right? That being Dio. And he still fucking does it. That's what encapsulates me, and I think what encapsulates a lot of other people. It's just absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. All right, I know we're like 30 seconds in, but I have to say this. Hold on, I'm gonna full screen me too, because it's a crazy opinion. He met him like, what, 4 days ago? Maybe like a week ago at Max. And Speedwagon is glazing Jonathan. might be the greatest D1 glazer of all time. Hold on. Give it a few seconds. Why is he so huge? Look at those thighs. Holy shit. This man went to college. Motherfucker, you should be in a gladiatorial arena. Look at you. No wonder she likes you. You're huge. Pun intended. Screenshot this. If there was ever a doubt in anybody's mind whether gravity or the concept of fate has existed before the events of like maybe part 3, here it is. People are just fated to meet each other, coming from the mouthpiece of Araki, that being Speedwagon. Can't be any more clear. Can't be. Hold on, random comment. Why the fuck are you putting pepper on your sandwich? Is this a technique I'm not knowing about? What are we doing here? Why are you looking at them while you're putting pepper on your sandwich? William, why are you so freaky? Crazy ass power. So, this scene, I guess, how do I put this? This scene is interesting. So, this is the first time, I guess improper, right? We are seeing Hamon being used. And it is a bit funny, because I remember back in the day, it's like, I remember Hamon Beat talked about it, where it's like, oh, Hamon doesn't affect creatures or whatever, but it can infect the environment. And I think at first, how do I phrase this? I'm giving raw like opinions on like, well, I think due to this. Remember, there's no script thing about this. I'm not like looking at these episodes previous to it. I think the display of Hamon here being shown, while cool on the first watch, is interesting, but like on a second watch, it's a bit deceptive, because eventually later on in part 2, the idea that Hamon, well, not really, but I guess it's more prevalent in that one, is that Hamon and vampiricism are more or less the same, not more or less the same thing, but are very, 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 very similar, two sides of the same coin. So I feel like the display of just destroying a rock and not hurting the life form is kind of weird, because if William wanted to, William could easily like destroy the trees behind him or a building behind him. We see Jonathan being able to rip things apart. So that whole like Hamon users can't hurt life forms is kind of dumb, because if you were to put William or Joseph or Jonathan against a regular person and they're using their zoom punches, they're gonna fucking rip through that guy because they have like an increased boost in strength. So if anything, I feel like this is just a really like cool like showing of how Hamon can work. Like you can like not hurt creatures, but it can hurt environments if you want to. I feel like this was not very well thought out by Araki in the long term, because God, is that bad to say? Am I really I remember I'm spitting this off the top of my head. I think in this scene we're already seeing the limitations of Hamon. Is that crazy to say? Maybe. Is it? I would think so. I partially agree with that statement. I kind of do. I really do. Because when you can't hurt individual people but can destroy, or individual creatures but can destroy the stuff around you, seems already limited. You know how I'm saying that? So I feel like Araki's already putting himself in a really weird position when it comes to Hamon usage, even in part 1. It was Shonen Jump in the late 90s. Araki had to make a good product, probably couldn't think about all the things he wanted to do fully throughout. So with that being the case, I feel like if Araki was given more time, he probably could have made Hamon a lot more interesting, at least in my opinion. There could have been more techniques. We kind of see that in part 2, but I'm gonna be real. I think Araki was just, at the time, just too limited with time. and so on and so forth, looking on Hamon as it continues from this point onward up until the end of part 2. But I just feel like this scene feels limiting. Like the fact that you can't hurt a living object, or at least you can kind of semi-choose that. At least that's the idea, or at least the interpretation moving on forward. I'll kind of show you what I mean later when it shows up, but I don't know. Like looking back on this scene, I'm already seeing the limitations of what Araki is doing with part 1 and part 2. What the fuck are we doing? What the fuck is this supposed to do? We're just on rocks? What are we doing? What are we... Is William selling an Andrew Tate How to Get Stronger course? What are we studying how to train our core or something here? What are we doing here, William? What are we doing here? Funniest fucking scene I've seen so far. Goofy ass manga. Goofy ass anime. Oh my, okay. Criticism, then again. So in the manga, just maybe one of the editors, if they do it, can do it in post. I have to say, I am disappointed with part 1 in a lot of ways. The biggest being a lot of the manga flair is not shown here, because when Zappelli says this in the manga, his face is all like, the two sides of the same coin, Jonathan. Like he has like passion with his voice. Here, the motherfucker's just talking, throwing shit, fucking things in the river. There's no diagram. I'm gonna be real. Just like how I said it, not years ago, but a few months ago, back when I was complaining about JoJo's. This is what I'm talking about with a part 1 anime, where it's like, no wonder a lot of people struggle to get into it, because a lot of the visuals, while cool, you know, with the textures and stuff, is interesting. When it actually comes to showing a lot of like the crazier details about the manga and the paneling and usage, utterly fail. Because I think this scene is so much better in the manga than the anime. I'm very disappointed in that. Jonathan, what the fuck are we wearing? What the fuck are we wearing? This has to be the most atrocious fit I have ever seen a man ever wear. What the fuck are we doing? This is terrible. The hat, the bow tie, what are we doing? Another thing Araki got good at over the years is actual good character design, like when doing fashion on them. This has to be one of the weirdest fucking fits ever. Anyway. All right, so as much as I complain about the whole Hamon stuff, at least earlier in the episode, I would also say, to at least a certain degree, that William was also the mouthpiece of Araki in the terms of what humanity is, what Hamon is, what it represents, the good side, right? And that that piece of dialogue, hold on, I gotta lock in, bro, when I say this. That piece of dialogue that he gives right here is so telling of what JoJo's is about. Even though Hamon hasn't been relevant in a very long time, that idea still sticks through. As long as a person is filled with courage while they fight, they are human. Will always be human, right? So always keep that in mind when watching JoJo's. Always. Dio has already won. I'm going to analyze this scene real quick. But maybe symbolically here, the fact that Jonathan doesn't like instantly know what to do here and clobbers Jack. Does that kind of sort of foreshadow the fact that Jonathan dies at the end of part 1? The fact that he doesn't learn it quick enough? That the winds don't give him the strength in order to, symbolically of course, to beat Dio? That's a bit of an interesting thought there. I've never interpreted it like that before. I think this episode is good. I have some things to complain about it, but I think it's probably one of the better ones, but I think there's a lot of thematics here that are kind of setting up part 1 and overall the JoJo universe, and then kind of some like subtle foreshadowing slash ideas about it. So I think this episode does a lot for JoJo's and part 1 in general. So it is very interesting. I can't wait for the next episode. I think I'll record that sometime later this week. I know I've been trying to make like double uploads out of this, but I just haven't found the time to. But I think later, either today or tomorrow, I'll record like maybe 1 or 2 more episodes and try to get those out. But awesome episode. I love it. Absolute. Hold on, I gotta absolute cinema. So it is definitely good. I'm loving the part 1 rewatch so far for the Stone Mask Saga. So I can't wait. I can't wait to get to part 2, man. Oh, it's gonna be so good. But yeah, really loving it. Quick pause. So here's the thing in JoJo's that doesn't happen a lot is the characters affecting the world. What happens to Win Knight's lot in the history books? Like 100 odd some years later, does everybody just go, yeah, like one day there were 500 people in this heavily packed 500 people location in Britain, and one day it mysteriously disappeared? That's like ripe for conspiracy theory, right? Like, there's no way there's not a conspiracy theory about Win Knight's lot within the JoJo's universe. And oh my god, would they really say it's vampires? Unless the Speedwagon Foundation like years later like covered it up, but like this is one of the weirder things. This episode has a lot of weird things about it, like post context, because it's like, what do you mean a whole bunch of vampires ended up destroying a town? And we're just not going to talk about it. What the hell? Look at this band of misfits, bro. Honestly, how do I explain this? Zappelli looks swagged out of his mind, and then we got Jonathan's fucking fit, bro. Who let bro dress himself? There's all the ghouls. Another like power scaling thing. Vampires can just resurrect any dead they want. Like, it's really like never explained. Like, I know the thing is right above me. Like this little guy right here, this little dude, it can just be resurrected by Dio. Never explained. Just vampires can like resurrect the dead. Like that's also like counting like Buford and Tarkus. So does that somewhat imply that Hamon users can do that, or does it like, because they're two sides of the same coin, the imprints on the two sides of the same coin do stuff differently? Or like it's kind of like a vampire can resurrect the dead, but then a Hamon user can see into the future. Kind of like that? Is there like trade-offs? I don't know. Is it? See, hold on. I'm gonna rant. I'm gonna fucking rant. You know what? This is gonna be in the part of the video, right? It has to. I do not agree with the sentiment that Araki hit his limit with Hamon and vampiricism in parts 1 and 2. I don't agree with it. I do not agree with it, right? Because look at what I just came up with. Vampires can resurrect the dead, while Hamon users can look into the future or have future sight, and so on and so forth. What do you mean you maxed out on the limits of what Hamon and vampiricism can do within parts 1 and 2? Brother, there's a whole avenue of character and power system right there. Don't get me wrong. Stands are better, flat out. There's no arguing that. But to just completely drop them from the series and not include them in the series moving on forward just seems kind of dumb. I think this is one of my critiques I do want to give to Araki. This is your biggest blunder by far. It just might be the greatest line in anime, bro. Somebody says, how many people have you eaten to heal that wound? And then you hit back with it and say, how many pieces of bread have you eaten in your life? And then you have to sit there and ponder and go, damn. Because that's a lot of bread. You know how much bread you had? Do you know how much pieces of bread humanity has had in total together in order to get to the point that we are now? Bread is a basic commodity you have to have on a daily basis, near daily basis, right? And this motherfucker goes, from the people I've had to heal, I've had to eat that many people. That's crazy. That might be the craziest comeback ever in anime. Maybe even fiction in general, bro. That shit was gold. That right there. Hold on. Let me hold on. Let me hold on. I'm gonna zoom this in real quick so it focuses on me. Okay. Right. That might be the single craziest comeback ever. And might have saved JoJo's Bizarre Adventure for getting axed in Weekly Shonen Jump. That's not me joking. I think that line right there saved it from cancellation. Is that crazy? Why am I not focusing? Ugh. Okay, we'll stop it there. The series of events that just took place right now are absolutely insane. First off, Dio has learned to freeze his body. Not only that, he's also figured out that Hamon users use their blood vessels or their arteries, bloodstream. We'll say bloodstream in order to use their abilities. He figured that out, right? In one attack. What? Like, I don't want to glaze the hell out of Dio, right? I'm trying to focus. I'd like to move too much. But he was able to do all of that within what? A span of a couple seconds. And then on top of that, William proceeds to go, I think actually within the anime, I think the wording is a little bit different on the subtitles, but it is implied that to a degree, I'm trying to remember the exact dialogue within the manga, but like he says he is 5 times stronger than us together. Like, it's the implication that even if they were fused together, Dio is still 5 times stronger than them, right? That's insane. And then the fact that he was able to do any of that, he also learned how to freeze his abilities, like the more complicated vampiric abilities. It's just crazy, dude. Part 1 Dio's nuts. Where did he find the time to learn like half of these abilities? What has it been? Like a month, right? It's been like a month, and he's already learned some like crazy ass tech that, from our knowledge, isn't too widespread among vampires. It's like even oh my god, Straight, so I don't think for the most part he was not using a lot of like the crazier like vampiric abilities, but like we have fucking Dio over here doing it. It's like part 1 Dio in this scene is nuts. There's a lot of shit you can power scale off of this one scene, and overall too, in terms of writing, it really sets a precedent that like Dio is so much stronger than these two, and like it really emphasizes his aura. He is the villain here, right? They are not close to the grandness, the grand evil that is Dio. In the subtitles, why is Queen Elizabeth JoJo posing? Why is Queen Elizabeth JoJo posing? Why is she hitting that pink pony club though? What the fuck is this? What are we doing here? Why is Queen Elizabeth hitting the JoJo pose, bro? Tangent. So we know within the JoJo's universe that curses are kind of like real. I actually wonder, and I would love to see this, even though I'm not a big Rohan fan, I would love to see a Thus Spoke Rohan Kishibe side story talking about the curse that Tarkus and Buford put onto Queen Elizabeth and her family and the royal family, to see if they actually have like of course it's not actually real, but like maybe within the JoJo world it is, and like they have been dealing with something, and then like for whatever reason Rohan gets dragged up into it. That would be so cool. Like, oh, that would be really cool. It'd like a pay homage to like part 1, right? Right? I don't know. It's kind of a little idea, like their spirits, like, oh, maybe that could be like there wasn't actually a curse, but until like Dio revived them, then like their spirits now roam the royal family's like estates and stuff. That would be cool. I don't know. Idea. Pause. Hold on. Alex just had a thought. Yet again, part 3 being weird. Why does he technically do that? Why doesn't Dio resurrect more people? I know you can make up an argument in part 3 that Dio like doesn't have his full vampiric capabilities, but I doubt that because he was of course able to graft on his head to Jonathan's. But like, why doesn't he use? But he made a vampire. Dio's so good at being a vampire, he can make vampires without using the mask. Bro, Rocky really shot himself with the foot, bro. Vampires are so fucking overpowered in JoJo's, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, maybe I should make a video on this and being like, part 3 Dio just doesn't make any sense. His limitations are so arbitrary, it's really dumb. Like, the Stardust Crusaders should have gone through like hell and high water. They should have been fighting vampires and stand users. Because like, look what he's able to do. Like, I don't give a fuck what anybody says. In part 3, Dio doesn't have any like limitations with his body. He can do things. They're just arbitrary, like, oh, my left side of my body is just a little bit weaker than my right side, but then my Hamon eventually when I become high Dio, it's like, reading out his dialogue of course, I'm the strongest I've ever been, this is the greatest high I've ever had, and this is not even my original body. So it's like, what are we doing here? Like, I'm being so for real. It's so, like I said, back to the beginning of this video or this recording and this reaction, vampiricism and Hamon had so much potential and room to grow, dude. Araki shot himself in the foot. It still should have been like a core part of JoJo's throughout 1 through 6. I'm just, disappointment. Can I make a comment? I know that like William's hand is frozen, right? But why can't he use his other hand or like his leg or foot? Does that kind of imply that if a Hamon user loses their, like one of their limbs? No, that doesn't make any fucking sense because Joseph is still able to use his Hamon even though he doesn't have a right arm. Right arm or left arm? Right arm. What? You can't fight Tarkus with one hand? I know it's kind of dumb, but you also use your legs. What do we... Part 1's funny, man. Part 1 is so fucking funny. This fight is so goofy. Crazy feat on Jonathan by the very end. I like this episode. I guess in conclusion, there's a lot of dialogue. Like, a lot of dialogue for, like, random ass shit. There's a lot of inconsistencies here. Later on in the thing. While I'll never say Araki forgot, Araki changes his mind. A lot. I can definitely tell just how this episode explores vampiricism. God, do I really want to say that? Do I really want to be a dick? I think I want to be a dick. I think Araki really sold himself short. There's so many cool ideas. God, do I say that? Does Araki think after he did this water thing with Jonathan, he's like, I fit my climax with Hamon. I can't do it anymore. Really? I don't know, man. It just seems so goofy, I guess. This is the best way I would like to describe it. Like, this episode's just goofy, but it's just fun goofy. It's like Fits of the North Star, a little bit of JoJo shenanigans, very basic writing tropes. It's a good episode. I can't say like it's bad, right? But it is definitely funny. I find it, I don't know, does Tarkus end up fighting William No, I don't think so. I don't even think in the manga. I don't know. It's just really weird. I know they're trying to like Araki's trying to spotlight Jonathan, but like it's such in a weird way. I'm going back on my previous criticism again. Part 1 is too limiting. It is too constrained on time. It should have had an extra like 20 chapters. We should have seen Tarkus versus William round 1 and round 2. I think we should have seen more of Dio. A lot of this stuff could be, instead of one episode having one giant ass history lesson, it should have been explained. We should have understand who those heroes are. Like, I know I came to the conclusion like a little bit ago that like Jonathan is supposed to be set up as one of the greatest heroes in England and eventually all of the world by fighting, you know, Dio, right? But it doesn't feel like that. It sets it up, but it's like it's a very poor setup. And even in the manga, from what I'm trying to remember, it didn't feel like that either. I love part 1. It's for me, it's a bare minimum 6 out of 10. It did its job to make JoJo hit the ground running and eventually continue on to this very day for part 9. But it is clearly evident this is being made by a very young author at the time. And it is very easy to see the faults of it, but it's not bad. I like it. It's goofy, right? But, and that's the charm of JoJo. But as a critical reader and watcher, it is a little bit funny with the weird inconsistencies overall, and the shortcomings that Araki did to himself. But I like it. Good episode. I think my plan now for this is eventually record all 12 episodes for Phantom Blood and then release them on the YouTube channel. I think that's my idea here, or like doing like a mega compilation of all the highlights. Fucking blocks that shit with his leg. I love this fight. Jonathan really blocked that shit with his foot, bro. He really is that guy. He really blocked that shit with his foot and did a whole parry on Buford. Oh my god. I'm gonna say Bluford from now on because I think it's funny. On Bluford, bro. I love part 1, man. I wish part 1 lasted longer, man. I don't like Shonen Jump and then what they did with Araki and just limiting him and forcing him to do something else. Okay, I'm gonna make a joke, right? A vampire is able to do this earlier within the part I remember showing you guys, and William can't. This is actually a terrible William feat, because later on, after getting a certain amp, I guess maybe that makes sense. Maybe vampires are just naturally stronger than Hamon users at base to base, right? Unless they undergo some rigorous training, or at least get some crazy Hamon amps, right? So Jonathan is able to break the collar around his neck, right? Which William wasn't able to do, and Jonathan before getting his William amp afterwards. So this is like a terrible feat for him, being able not to do this, while other JoJo characters can. I have no idea what that wall's made out of, or that door is made out of. It's actually crazy. So just, you know, power scaling thing aside here, it's really funny. Maybe William's more of like a technique-based user than an actual like raw stats guy. Maybe that's just one way to interpret it, but you know, jokes aside. Unfortunately, Hamon can't be used destruction. Bullshit. You broke a rock earlier, dog. Yeah, this is the weird part of early Araki's inconsistencies. He just didn't know what to do, and like he sets this stuff up right with no really good frame of logic. And I guess you can interpret, well, because he's trying to punch a door, so you couldn't interpret it like that. This is a blunder on Araki. This doesn't make any sense. This isn't like an Araki forgot. This is Araki selling himself short in a sense, because this doesn't make any sense. This is the dumbest thing, because eventually we end up seeing what Joseph and Caesar can do with the ability too. And I feel like eventually I'm going to put this in the video too, or at least, you know, talk about it when I actually do record it, or I'll just place this clip in here. This logic, right, or maybe even this scene in general, is the part that fucks up Araki, because Araki wants Hamon to be one thing, right, but it can't be another when it's needed to be. So it ends up just kind of blowing up in his face. I don't think Hamon ever reached its limit. I think Araki was just young and dumb at this point in his career. Because if this didn't show up, because we know Araki power scale, so he tries to be consistent with his battle shonen. So because of this and him putting it in the story, he has to go, oh, Joseph and Caesar can't do this, or maybe Jonathan can't do this, which eventually he circumvents that. He gets a massive rage amp and breaks his collar, so it's not consistent at all, right? So it's just like, does William just suck, or is Araki just purposely putting this in here, tries to be consistent, makes a blunder, doesn't want to correct the blunder, and now we're just in a bad spot? This is what I'm talking about when I make the video here soon. But I think this is just an Araki fuck up. Maybe you could have just said, instead of Hamon can't be used destruction, you can just say, ultimately, this is all you need to change, right? Where you can say, William says, unfortunately, my Hamon cannot break through this, right? It kind of implying that, you know, William isn't A, strong enough for it, or B, that's not his preferred style of using his Hamon. Uncompared to somebody like Caesar or Joseph or Jonathan, and specifically with those guys, is like, we see the Zeppelians be a lot more strategic with just their pure Hamon, while Jonathan's more brute force, and then Joseph's is a little bit of a mix between the both of them. So I feel like, I think this is a correct translation for the most part. I'd have to double check on the manga side of it, but I think it is. And if it is, I just think Araki just didn't do this right. I think this is the part, the planting of the seed of the idea that it just doesn't make sense. Because remember, the guy broke a rock before, so Hamon can be used for destruction. It's just that Araki's just not being consistent with it, or changing his mind too much for the sake of plot, and it's unfortunate. I think as a writer, this is just an early fuck up. I think he could have corrected this. Could have made a guidebook statement on this too. Just been like, yeah, William was more of a technique-based user than an actual physical brawler, and this wouldn't have fucked you over in the long run. If that's the case, remember, this is me mostly theorizing and speculating here in terms of the long run of JoJo and its history and how it all works together. I'm gonna do a double recording. I really want to talk about the next episode because I think it's really, really good. So with that all being said, I think this is a good episode. You will hear my further ideas and the complaints about Hamon not being elaborated on nor respected on, and kind of the weird inconsistencies about it in the video I will make on the channel next. But this is a good episode. A lot of cool things happen. You know, it's one part fighting, one part, you know, amping up the kids, telling, you know, like, you guys can do it. Don't fear pain. Challenge yourself. You know, it's good lessons, good motivation. You know, cool William backstory, building up the hype for the next episode. It's great. This is a good episode. I think it's fairly better than the last one. But I think the last few minutes of the last episode are pretty good as well. But Phantom Blood is so fucking cool, man. It's amazing. I like it. It does its job very well. I'm so intrigued right now that I even want to watch the next episode and record it. So with that being the case, I'm gonna do that. That's such a cool. Did he just fucking speed blitz him? What the fuck did I do? What the fuck is this? What the fuck? What the fuck did I just watch? Does this happen in the manga? Oh my god, I'm having a brain fart. Did Tarkus just speed blitz him? What the fuck? One of, if not the most insane, brutal deaths in the entire series, bro. This shit is crazy. He just dies like that. Araki really did this after having a scene with the kid to hook the kids in by saying, kids, don't be scared of death or pain. And then immediately the next chapter later, William gets fucking bisected. But fucking saying, holy shit. God, it's so fucking cool. I love Hamon, man. Doesn't do anything to him. Fucking rocks him. That's Fist of the North Star right there, bro. God, he's so cool. Peak. Fucking peak, bro. This is why I love JoJo's. For shit like that. Jonathan in this moment has taken William's power, made it his own, and is implied to now have, almost in a weird way, Dragon Ball style, has taken the sum total of William's parts and then multiplied it, because he's then able to go toe to toe with Dio later on. It's so cool, bro. Part 1 aura farming is amazing. I love it, and there's still like thematic weight here because of the prophecy, and be like, Jonathan's going to be unchained, his raw power will be unleashed, he will defeat Dio, and the fate and gravity of the universe will start to take shape, leading into the events of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this is the moment where JoJo's is JoJo's. This is where Araki gets a fucking clue, because this shit happens consistently. Joseph ends up getting it at least once or twice during his fights with the Pillarmen, not at the very end. Jonathan gets a rage boost. Josuke eventually, gets a pretty insightful amp after seeing Okuyasu's death. Giorno gets GR. Jolene doesn't really get anything, but she does get that like Jonathan moment where she's like, I'm still gonna fight you even if I'm gonna fucking die. I'm gonna do this till it's my last breath. It's like these moments happen consistently. It's been here since part 1. This is, I'm gonna go full screen when I say this, bro. This is JoJo's, bro. This is it. And I love it. This is why I come back to the series time and time again, because it still happens. We see it in part 7. We've seen it in 8. We definitely saw it in 8. Gappy was aura forming the fuck out of Wonder Review, and it's going to happen with Joe Dio, bro. It's going to. It's amazing. I fucking love it, man. I like a lot of. Oh my god, I'm having so much fun rewatching it. I really am, man. It's amazing. My god, is that, holy fucking shit, I had the biggest brain blast moment. Is the Joestars' will actually Williams? Has every Joestar fought all these people because it is Williams' legacy, not Jonathan's? Nah, that's a crazy interpretation. Is that true? Maybe up until the Dio thing, right, with the mask? Maybe that's what you could say, but then it even goes to Poochie, because that's still the after effects of that. Dude, this is crazy. Fuck, man, I'm loving this rewatch so far, bro. It's really crazy. All the interpretation here is just, God, I love this fucking series. Oh God, man. I know I didn't say a lot during that. This is only a 26-minute video. But I was just so engrossed. I love this episode. I think it's done a lot. It's a setup episode. This is all it really is, except for the beginning. I really do think, I guess maybe to extend this a little bit more here at the end, I really do think to a certain degree this episode, I guess even manga chapter wise too, over the course of maybe like 2 chapters, really sets up the manga, not the anime, in a way where you can tell there is a lot of prophecy, fate that is being bestowed onto the Joestars, the Zappellis, and so many other people later down the line because of the actions that are taking a hold right now. If anything, I have to congratulate Araki on one thing, and the entire like idea of fate playing a part so early and setting it all up is quite genius. and he pulled it off pretty well, in my opinion. And as a viewer, as a manga reader, I'm so happy to say, like, nearly 40 years later, that it's still being done amazing. Maybe 7, 8, and 9, not so much. It's not the theme for the most part. But in terms of parts 1 through 6, it genuinely is. In which, that's not the main thing. The main thing is it's supposed to be a celebration of humanity, and I think it's done well here. Except for Shueisha's jackass. He's gonna cheat here in a little bit. But I don't know. There's so much done correctly here. And the next episode, I'm gonna wait till next week to record it. At least the time when I record this one. I'm going to say so much. I know I didn't say a lot in this episode. That's going to be probably about 30 minutes. But the next one, we have the fight with Jonathan and Dio, which lasts like 2 episodes. We see Tom Petty and Dyer and Straits all fight. I'm going to talk about that and more of my complaints with Hamon. Good and bad, but I can't wait. I really can't wait. I'm loving this part 1 read through so much, and I think it in a way too as well. I'm even more solidified in the opinion that I wanted to see more of part 1. I wanted more elaboration to all these characters than just simple backstories. I really don't think. How long is this? We're gonna actually see this. Part 1, anime wise, right, is only 9 episodes. 9 episodes for 40 chapters of the manga, dude. Absolutely insane that it's only that long. It should have been longer. All of it should have been longer, man. I really do enjoy part 1, even though it has some tropes and Fifth is a North Star, and you could interpret that as maybe stealing a little bit. It's just, I want more, man. Part 1's so cool, and the fact that we only have 2 episodes left of part 1, it's gonna get good. These last 2 episodes, fuck, there's so much in these last 2 episodes. I dare to say the next 2 episodes are probably gonna end up being like 40 minutes plus each. There's no way. That last episode is going to be an hour, dude. Episode 9 is going to be so good. Okay, with that all being said, like, comment, share, subscribe. Continue to support here on Patreon. Paid members, thank you again. I hope you guys enjoyed this. The final battle with Dio's coming up, and it's going to be good. It's going to be real good. Okay, so I'll see you next time. Thank you. Deuces. All of that. All of this was a Fist of the North Star reference. It is so blatantly obvious. I think the anime is really going into it rather than what Araki does. God, oh my God! Wait a minute. This isn't in the anime. This shot. Are they trying to parallel that one scene near the end of Fist of North Star where all the South Star and North Star people are next to each other while Kenshiro is channeling all their spirits through him? Is that the idea here? That all 3 of them are fighting with him? That's a cool anime detail. Hold on. Can I make a comment about this real quick? This is gonna be a very hot take. When I do the giant like what's it video, when I compile all these clips together, can I say that Araki, at least early Araki, has terrible power scaling? This is a fucking clip right here. Look at me in the fucking eyes. I think Araki, the reason why Hamon and Vampirism, because I explained this in an earlier video, because it's already been out, but to go further into it, why we move away from Hamon and Vampirism is because Araki fucking just starts splurging all these insane abilities. Like, look at this. A full body frozen technique. How the fuck do you fight against that, bro? That shit's unblockable on startup. It starts in 1 frame. Like, what the fuck? This wasn't like a gradual, like, Dire had the ability to react to it. No, it's like he gets instantly frozen. I think Araki, just because he was a young writer, did not know what he was doing. He made Dio stupidly overpowered. Like, seriously overpowered in part 1. Because, like, you didn't even give Dire, like, a chance, bro. It's like, I'm going to use one of my most craziest techniques. I got frozen 1 frame, bro. What the fuck? No wonder we had to move away from it. You gave all the sauce to Dio. Bro got clipped, dog. Hold on. Can I make a joke? Hold on. This man is in awe right now. He is looking at this and being like, I want this. This would be so fucking cool to have. What a fucking fake friend, bro. Fucking Straightso's an asshole. Okay, okay, I peeked right there, my bad. This is something I've noticed. I know they say it in the anime too, or the manga too, but I noticed the anime is really more heavily emphasizing it much more than the manga does, about how, like, this fight is now even because Jonathan has Zeppeli's Hamon flowing within him. And I just find that interesting because they always say stand up. It's like, Jonathan's now become the strongest, like classic shonen dialogue, you know? So I find it kind of weird, right? And this is where I'm going to get to. It's trying to, like, foreshadow the fact that Jonathan is not going to beat Dio, which is crazy that the foreshadowing takes place this far into it, and like what, an episode later he gets fucking Fortnited. So it's just like crazy. Criticism. So another one. This one's just the inconsistency that eventually we see in part 2, but not full screening my face. How does this not count as destroying a vampire's head? Is it the fact that his crotch is still connected, that his central nervous system can still activate? Is that the idea? But like, Hamon's channeling through his body 2 ways, right? It's kind of weird. It's a weird thing because Araki tries to set that up in part 2 where it's like, straight, so I can beat you by blowing you up and destroying your brain, right? So it's just like, what counts as destroying the brain? Like completely making it go like splattering, or like slicing it? Because that's clearly not how it works. It's kind of weird. I've always found this scene it's cool, don't get me wrong, I fucking love this, but like, it's weird that we don't see the consistency with this. It would have been probably better if, you know, Jonathan just stabbed him, right, and maybe went down or something to make it more consistent or something like that. But I guess the whole like face merging scene we're about to see kind of makes up for it. But like, I don't know, weird thing I've always wanted to point out. I have a question. This just came into my head. You probably saw it on screen. Zoom in on my face in the compilation when we do this. If vampires and Hamon users have the exact opposite abilities, but they're still kind of the same thing because they follow under the same principle of being the same coin, does that mean Hamon users can superheat their bodies? Because we see this with Pillarman cars, right? But nobody else. Dio's the only one who ever gets this ability, right? Nobody has like superheated Hamon. That kind of happens, but it's like, it's never like a thing, you know? It's like no one ever taps like a person and like fucking their clothes combust or whatever. It's kind of weird. That just came into my head. Like, I know Cars gets it, but like, it's Cars. Like, you expect them to have everything, but it's like, no, like not even Tom Petty can do that. Straightso never talks about it. It's just like, the hell? Like, but we know that mind control exists on both planes because Lisa's able to do it, and so does Dio. So it's like, there's weird stuff here. Always weird stuff. I'm noticing in this. Faster than I can. That makes no fucking sense. I can flash freeze my opponent and instantly turn them into nothing. Like Dire can't even react. But no, a simple flame is somehow impossible to do. I know he's also feeding. That's also a comment, but it's like, really? I think there's a good feat here, by the way. This isn't in the I don't think it's in the manga. Dio doing this, by the way, is like fucking town level. I recently was informed that basically doing any cloud level feats, right, it makes you fucking stupid overpowered. So being able to do this is like, what was it? What did Jobber say to me? Was it like town level? This is like a town level feat or whatever. If we're using like if we're, you know, putting the characters up into like anime and manga versions, it's like town level Dio in part 1 is not a crazy thing. So I'd have to do the math on this, or I think somebody has, but it's crazy. Fun fact. I think the last episode, right, was phenomenal. I think that fight serves so much cinematic value past what a lot of people think, because what that fight is supposed to symbolize, it's supposed to set up within the JoJo world, because we'll see it in the next episode, the idea of fate and the ideas of good versus evil, and how it's a constant throughout the JoJo's universe. It's a celebration of humanity. Dio's dialogue talking points within that fight are very like contradictory. Yeah, contradictory, because we're like, remember where Dio was all like, what is a monkey compared to a human? But you know, if Dio is the human, he's already forgave his humanity, so he's lower than a monkey, right? So it's stuff like that, trying to help symbolize the difference between where Dio and Jonathan stands, and kind of the overarching theme of JoJo's, between, you know, the Joestars representing humanity and the villains representing something wholly something much worse. So I really love this fight. Now, is it in my top 10? I would say yes, but I don't think it's the best fight, because all this fight does is, it's like, how do I put this? Part 1 in its final form that we see it in is more of like an epic saga tale from centuries long ago that we don't have the full details of. It's something weird like that, right? That's how I kind of treat part 1, because it's like, when you see that fight take place, it's like, yeah, Jonathan won, but it's like, no, he didn't. He was like, Dio with some ancient sealed up evil that, you know, 100 years later we're gonna have to end up fighting again through with Jonathan, right? Or with Jotaro, right? So it's like, in a way, this is probably where Castlevania takes it from. It feels like the setup of like an old mythical legend, and then like 1,000 years later, the true hero has to show up to defeat the grand evil. That's how part 1 feels, and I like that. I think Araki nailed that idea within early JoJo's. It feels like the start of like a crazy epic saga, and now we have the last episode. It's gonna get crazy. I'll listen to the full one, because this one's the one with the FX, I think, the SFX. Okay, we're gonna leave it at that. So that whole speech that Dio just gave is the core thesis of all of original JoJo. You could argue that's in Steel Ball Run, the Steel Ball Run verse, but no, not really. That one deals with a lot more grounded things. That's a whole different discussion. But what Dio just said here, for anybody who doesn't understand it, is like, this is JoJo. This is fate. This is the story of fate and how people meet together and what the outcomes of those meetings turn out, right? And so with this one, this is the most integral meeting or conjuncture of two souls the entire series has to offer. Jonathan and Dio are more integral to the plot than any other character. I would even say more than Jotaro. I say that for many reasons, is because what Jonathan has to go through with Dio has so much weight behind it that I could not express, at least with talking to you guys like this, in a constructive manner, to really explain that, because it is Dio realizing in the moment that this has to happen. I don't have to take your body. I quite literally am not even mandatorily required. I know I just made that the fuck up. To have your body. It is destined by fate, by God himself, if he exists, which, fun fact, he does within original JoJo's. There's a lot of evidence supporting it, to have your body. This is going to happen, and the after effects of it will go on till 2011. So you're seeing from, hold on, this happened in 1988, I think, right? Hold on. So 2011 minus, I think it's that. This battle would go on for roughly 123 years. This is how important this moment goes on for. It would involve a whole host of different people and characters and ambitions and lives over the course of centuries. This speech that Dio is giving is so vital to JoJo's. It makes JoJo's. This is, if the fight before was mythic and like kind of this idea of the unknown, this is the grounded, like an Elden Ring, right, where it shows you the backstory of all the people you're gonna end up meeting throughout the whole game, right? This is what this is. This whole speech is the beginning of that. All the like epic myth backstory stuff is what you have to learn in the universe, in game, right? Is how I perceive it, of like where it is on the totem pole of like of story writing, where Araki is trying to present it. And like, if you don't get this part about JoJo's, this whole conversation, I can understand why it's so hard to get into it, or you don't understand it fully, because this is JoJo's. This encounter that's about to happen is what sets it up. This is where we get Jotaro, the final conclusion of what Joseph's character ends up becoming. What happens to Jolene, Josuke, Giorno. It's like, this is the moment that sets up the entire bloodline, even if it right now it's only affecting these two people critically and everybody on the boat. It is very, very, very layered. Dio is such a fascinating character. I will say it. Have I made a Dio video talking about his character? I have not. Have I? I have. Yes, I have. But I always have new thoughts after watching stuff. The way Dio talks to Wang Chan here is very, very inducive of what Dio was thinking. This is the beginning stages of the ideas of heaven and gravity taking place. Dio right now knows that he is in the presence of a body that is going to be given to him. So Jonathan is Dio, Dio is Jonathan in a weird way. Just like how the whole Hamon thing works, it works in tandem with them. There's bits and pieces in both of them. They both have the same abilities. They kind of have interesting character personalities, but of course they're opposite, but they're still intertwined. So this is in a really interesting way, Dio trying to present forward to Wang Chan and the audience as well, that like, by disrespecting Jonathan, you're disrespecting me, which is really cool. It's something that we don't really see often with Dio past this, because he never holds the same respect towards Jonathan to anybody else, ever. Not even Jotaro, right? And Jotaro fucking entered his world, kicked his ass, and then Dio never does that, which is so weird thinking about. And I don't know why, because, you know, Dio grew up with Jonathan. He has a much closer relationship with Jonathan than anybody previous, right? So fighting somebody like Jotaro, it wouldn't make sense. So it's like, you have to realize the weight behind the words that he's saying here, because they really do mean a lot. Oh, that's right. Oh God, the story ends where it begins. Holy shit. Oh my God, I just realized that. Oh my God, it ends where it begins. Hold on, maybe Araki's a fucking genius. Damn. Every time I watch it, it still hits the same. Jonathan Joestar, dead, 1888. I can't remember if this was in the manga or not. This whole dialogue part. Maybe. Dio's also in there, by the way. Before we continue on, There's actually a really cool scene in George Joestar. This is the only time I'll ever. I like George. George Joestar has a really cool scene between Arena and Dio living in that box. Fun fact. So it's really, really good. Not good for Arena. It's terrible. But like, it really shows Dio's evil and wickedness. Of course, it's not canon, but it's pretty good. But I fucking love Yes. I've been listening to a lot of them recently too, by the way. I'll let it continue on. Part 1 is incredible. Part 1 is genuinely one of my favorite parts out of any medium, any manga I've ever read. Even though I put part 1 in terms of the JoJo thing lower on the totem pole, and the collectiveness of JoJo. Also, that deal fits hard, by the way. Never used, but one of his best. There's no other anime or manga that does it for me, bro. I don't give a rat's ass. Once you really understand JoJo's and really get into the mythology, the lore, how it all works, it's genuinely one of the best out here, bro. There's a reason why this thing has lasted as long as like Warhammer, even longer than Dragon Ball, actually speaking about it, even longer than Fist of the North Star. Araki really is an underrated badass, right? Even though I have criticisms of part 1 being the hardcore fan that I am, the fact that Araki is still doing this nearly, I think looking at his whole manga career, 40 fucking years later, oh my God. He started off at best with a 6 out of 10, and then it's banger after banger after banger after banger after banger. He's phenomenal. Part 1 is phenomenal, man. I love it. I have my criticisms. I know maybe it sounds like it's overall been a little bit too negative, but man, I'm just yapping. It really isn't. I really don't have like that amount of crazy problems with part 1. And I don't think it's highly the best part. I really do like the start of the franchise here, because it's not a traditional story. It is a mythic setup. Everything before the boat scene is just a mythic setup. The boat scene is what establishes everything moving on forward. Like, Araki really could have started off with part 1, and in the very beginning he just shows off the boat scene, and then it would have gave you the clue in, right? But he doesn't. He tries to elaborate with the story. Probably would have went on for longer if it wasn't for Shonen Jump. Explain some things, go into a little bit more detail. I think personally, but it's like it's one of the best. I can't wait to make like a whole compilation out of this. I don't know if I actually should start the compilation now or start on my most terrifying stands video. So if you're a free viewer, now you know that, because that's my next video, or it should be. I'm kind of throwing out that what if out there just as a little bit of an Easter egg, or like a misleader. But I don't. Next week, well, can I do it next week? Yeah, next week we will start part 2, and then part 1 will all be privatized for paid members. But starting with part 2, it will be free for a while, and then until its end, and so on to the process till part 6, and even part 7. Even when that comes out, maybe I'll do like a dual recording of both. But yeah, awesome. Part 1's amazing. I think after rewatching it, I'm gonna give it like a 7 instead of the 6 I always give it. It's like a 7, solid 7. So with that all being said, like, comment, share, subscribe. You'll probably only see this version of me at the very end. Thank you for supporting me. If you watched all of it on Patreon, or watch this whole video and then support it on Patreon, or just like, comment, share, subscribe on this one. Thank you. I'll see you in the next one. Love y'all.